Alright, so everybody's talking about Monster Hunter Rise again because of its release on PC, and people are posting footage and gameplay and stuff like that, and it just kind of got me itching to go back and play. I didn't stop playing, because I wasn't happy with the experience or enjoying it or anything like that. It's just there was no more monsters, and during my initial playthrough I kind of just stuck with two weapons, the great sword and the insect glaive, and it really did take the full breadth of the campaign to really feel like I finally got the hang of those and mastered them, which is a testament to how unique each of these weapons are from each other and how deep they are and how much time it would take to get used to them. And it kind of really brings to light sort of why this series has such a fervent and very invested fan base, because this experience it asks a lot of you. I mean, that's just getting the weapons down, right? In previous games I know that there was more of an emphasis on preparing for the hunt and adapting to the various elements of the hunt as it's going on. Like, you actually had to track monsters before and stuff like that, and prepare yourself for different weather and things like that. Like, there was a lot of elements to the game to really understand and master to make sure your hunts are successful. And it's part of the reason, or at least for me on the outside looking in, why I didn't really bother even trying to get into the series, because I always heard it was like that, where it's like it has a high barrier to entry. There's like a lot of things you need to learn. It was doing crafting before crafting became cool. And along with that, there's just the weapons themselves, and then of course the monsters. They have their own patterns, their own moves. You have different types, kind of, or some clearly some monsters are cut from the same cloth. In this game specifically, one of the more obvious ones is like Arzuros and Lagambi. They're kind of the same shape even, but they share some of the same moves. But even then, Lagambi has their own moves too, and same with Arzuros. But even then, like, each one takes a lot of time spent fighting them to really get them down, and their tells and sort of what they tend to do as the fight progresses, how they react and stuff. And yeah, that changes even further when you go in with a different weapon. Like, aside from all the preparing and the crafting and the equipment and grinding and skills and all that, like, there's the meat and potatoes of it, which is mastering your weapon and then figuring out how to best use it against a monster. Like, you could fight the same monster with two different weapons and it's going to be a very different experience both times. And I guess the campaign just kind of had me wanting to go through it, and because it's my first Monster Hunter, like, I really just was itching to see these new monsters, right away, and kind of just soak them in as quickly as possible. It wasn't more like, oh, okay, I know that one, and like, I'm not really interested in moving into that fight super soon. Like, I was like, even in the demo, like, they did a cool thing where the monster icons in the corner were all like question marks until you went and saw them for yourself. And having not played the series before, I was like, well, what am I gonna see next? Like, when I got to the Mizutsune one finally, after grinding the Arzuros one to really get good with the greatsword, I was like, oh my god, look at this dragon, which was Rathian, and like, I forget who the third monster was in that one, but it was like, seeing them out there was so cool. And with this game, it was always like, come on, I want to see the next one, like, just this desire to progress the campaign and not really spend too much time mastering all the other weapons. But because I want to get back into the game, and I stopped basically once they dropped the final boss in the update. That tends to be my thing when a game, once I beat the final boss, I don't usually stick around and do post-game stuff or anything like that. It's the reason why I haven't beat Breath of the Wild yet, because then it probably would get me to stop playing. I mean, I would probably just boot it up again and play it, but like, I'm not ready to put it aside yet 4 or 5 years after the fact. And it's worked. I haven't beat the final boss, I'm still running around just making up stuff to do, just soaking in the world. I just love that version of Hyrule so much. So yeah, for this one I was like, well, I really stopped because I beat the final boss and I beat all the other monsters. I saw them all. So it's like, what am I gonna do? I want to play Monster Hunter. Sunbreak's not out. I was like, well, let's just go ahead and try to get good with the other weapons. And yeah, so I don't know how far along we are from Sunbreak. I don't know if they're given a date yet. This isn't timed in relation to that or anything. I just want to play now. But yeah, so what I've laid out as the field map is that I'll do one weapon a week. So I've only mastered 2 or gotten used to 2, Insect Glaive and Great Sword. So I kind of just wanted to work from the top down as they're listed in the weapon upgrade area when you talk to the smithy or whatever. So I just started from the top. I was like, alright, let's do Sword and Shield. I've heard good things about it in the lead up to Rise from people who are seasoned monster hunters that were, you know, just hyped up for the game and were just sharing all their thoughts on the demo and the actual game at release, and they're like, yeah, Sword and Shield is pretty solid in this one, maybe even in the best it's ever been. And I can agree, it's like, this could be in my rotation. I'm totally comfortable with it. I'm not a master with it. I've only spent the week with it, but I also wanted to double up and be like, well, I don't want to just kind of go boss medley, just like playing against all of them. I was like, well, if I'm gonna master or learn at least a new weapon, maybe I should try to go in depth on the monsters in this game as well. So sort of, if you cancel out some of the lowest ranked monsters that kind of are just pushovers and are pretty easy to understand after just a few fights, you're left with roughly 24 that are more interesting and would take more time to understand and get their tells down and their patterns and stuff. So it kind of worked out perfectly. It's like 12 weapons, 24 monsters. That's 2 monsters a week. So that's what I did this week. I chose to get comfortable with the Sword and Shield, and because I feel really good with it, it's just a solid weapon. It's really easy to use. It's really well balanced. Like, it's the Mario of Smash Brothers, you know, in this game. Just super good all-arounder that anybody could pick up and get the hang of and find success with. And I was like, well, I feel good with this one, so I'm gonna kind of pick 2 of the higher rank ones and get them out of the way in case some of the other weapons I pick up I don't feel as comfortable. I don't want to get stuck using them against monsters I don't feel I can beat with them. So I picked Teostra and Rajang because of course they tend to stay on the ground most of the time, which is a little bit more appropriate for Sword and Shield. But also they're pretty tough. Like, Rajang is fun, and I've had a lot of success with Greatsword, but it feels like this is more of an underdog situation because the Sword and Shield is actually pretty small compared to other weapons in the game. The other weapons are like super anime versions of their real life iterations. So yeah, that one felt like a David Goliath scenario that I think the Sword and Shield stood a chance against because it is solid. And Teostra, just because I don't feel like I ever got the hang of Teostra as much. It was probably the last monster I really played much of. I think it was the last one that got added as the free updates, right? So I also spent a little bit less time. But yeah, I pre-recorded those 2 fights because I wanted to pick my best showing of them. I mean, I'm not like Team Darkside or anything like that. I wasn't just like leveling them in the first area, like they couldn't even run away or anything like that. But these were the ones I picked were the ones I felt where I did pretty good. Like, I was happy with my performance in those. Not perfect. Kind of tough, I think, to really get to that point with Sword and Shield after just a week. I spent so much time with Greatsword in the demo and the main game, and that's a really a relatively simple weapon compared to some of the other ones I've seen. And it still took me a lot of time to get to a good place with it where I'm like, that's my main. I feel like I am a somewhat master of it. But this one is just, it really was easy to sort of understand, and it's flexible because it doesn't have like any specific sequences or meters or anything like that. Like, you don't need to really do much to get to one of its strongest moves, which is the perfect rush. You can initiate it just like that. See, just get right into it. Of course, actually implementing the perfect rush in battle as often as you'd like can be tough because it's such a long sequence to get the entirety of it to pop off. But yeah, it's nothing like from what I've seen of like the more complicated ones like Charge Blade or Switch Axe, where it's like you transfer the power to the sword and then you do this more stuff, and now it's in the shield, but it's only there for so much time. You know, it's like there's not much to keep track of here. There's not even a specific extra bar like with dual blades or anything like that. It's just plug and play. You just go out there, you just press A and X, you'll do attacks. I like that it has like some slugger stun type moves right here that are satisfying. I feel like those feel good. Boom. And I mean, I like that too with Greatsword. I use Tackle way more than I probably should. It doesn't do that much damage compared to the other moves, but it's like just that boom. I think I'm gonna like Hammer a lot once I get to that one, because that's all it is, right? It's like stun damage and KO damage and stuff. But yeah, I think the main move with this one, once you get it as a switch skill, is this counter, the uppercut. You can fire it off any time and still do a lot of damage, but if you understand a monster better and kind of know when they're going to strike and when they're going to strike and stay in position and not move out of the way, then you can initiate it and get the most damage out of them. But yeah, ultimately, like, it's super fast when it's sheathed. Like, you get around really quickly versus Greatsword, which is super slow. It sheaths quickly, so bam, you can hightail it out of situations. It has a shield, which doesn't take it's something I didn't even realize till like the fights today, where I was like, oh yeah, I should just use shield more. And like the Greatsword, which the sword is the shield, so when you do block, it loses sharpness. With this one, it doesn't. So, I mean, if you're ever stuck in a situation where you can't get out of the way, just go ahead and boom, shield. Nice to have. Not every weapon has that. They have iframes on other weapons to make up for it, but with this one, you don't have to really try to time for that or anything. It's just boom, boom, boom. And yeah, again, like, just slash and slash, you're kind of good. Just you can kind of mash with this one too. I mean, it pays to play more with the main sequence, and then bam, do that. You know, even after a week, I still don't feel like it's second nature out there in the hunt or anything like that, like it does with Greatsword for me. But because it's a pretty nice weapon that's relatively easy to understand, it was also really fun and really easy to get into. But even then, it's my lack of mastery showed in the battles against Teostra and Rajang. I still had trouble in those. There's less room for error than versus the other monsters, so I was paying for my lack of mastery pretty often. But in these two fights that I chose, I did okay. I felt okay with those. But yeah, super solid weapon. One that everyone getting into the game should definitely check out. It's a good one to have in your repertoire. Just super clean, super easy and fun. You can even drink, I think. I still haven't really, I just like to run if I need to drink. It's just a habit from Greatsword. I have quick sheath and then I just hightail it because you can't really move at all when it's sheathed. So, but let me see, I think if you hold ZL and then press Y. I don't know, he's not holding the, oh no, there it is, okay. Yeah, so you can just stay like that. And if you want to try to stay sheathed or unsheathed most of the time, I would recommend maybe having a Evade extender, just so you can get out of the way without having to run all the time and sheath it. But I didn't bother doing that because I don't mind going into that falling bash. That's what you go into once you unsheath, bam bam. Or you can also unsheath this way with holding shield, bam, and then you can go into another sequence if you want without going into the, what do they call it here? They call it sliding slash, scaling slash, and then bash. But yeah, during the heat of battle, I rarely ever like boom shield, and then I was constantly like both thinking about what the monster is gonna do and then how I should react, and it never really got lined up cleanly. But yeah, super cool weapon. Definitely understand all the hype and whatnot that people shared regarding it. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with Sword and Shield this week, and hope you enjoy sort of the fights I had against Teostra and Rajang.
in the way! This needs some polish! Go! I could get. Let's have some fun! Be careful! You're gonna be sorry for that! Weapons getting dull! for some sharpening. Good job, buddy. Oh no, you do! Have a taste of this! Now I'm getting angry! Let's go for a ride! Okay, that's enough. What is the bell? Knew I could count. This is the end! I'll be taking after it! Giddy up! Weapons getting dull! Let's go for a ride. Yeah! Get here! This needs some polish! Ready for some boom. I put down a bomb. Be careful! Knew I could count on her. There's an obedient fella. Here comes the messy part. Good job, buddy. Piece of cake!